The next speaker we have is Mr. Aditya Trivedi. I'd like to call upon him to give his views.
Thanks, Girish. So I'll quickly get on to the topic, right? So AES, we are a global power company, and we've been developing thermal, renewable, we've been developing all types of power plants except nuclear globally. We have been in India for a very long time. It's almost 25 years now. But what people little know of is AES is also one of the world leaders in deployment of energy storage projects globally. Currently, we have close to 570 megawatts of energy storage projects which are already deployed or in the construction stage already. What I want to talk about today is very specifically is the project that we have recently inaugurated in Delhi. This project is part of our fleet which is there. So we've been doing and commercially doing energy storage projects since 2007. So it is not something which is new. The technology has been developed in-house, but at the same time we are not a product company. We don't manufacture anything. We are an integrator, and we have been successfully commercially doing these projects for over 12 years now. And Delhi is just another example of how we are entering the market. The whole idea of doing this project came up when we started working on developing the Indian market for energy storage. While the technology has been proven, we have been doing those projects globally, but the challenge that we heard, and it was very well resonated by Vishal, that what is smart in India, right? Smart outside can be something else, but what it means in India. And we kept on hearing those issues from everybody that we kept talking. That's when we realized that, I think it's high time we should take that initiative of deploying a project, not to really prove the concept, but to push the deployment storage in India and give people that trust that yes, this is something which will really work. And at the same time, it is equally important for the regulators, because for the regulators to really have the benchmark, they need data. So going back again to the point that you need data to really form regulations, you need data to augment your systems. So the whole idea of this project was to help the regulators, the distribution companies, to really come up to the scale wherein they can quickly deploy, because this is something which is readily available. It's a matter of acceptance. So here I just want to briefly talk about the use case. So what we saw, and we engaged with Tata Power Delhi Distribution, and they were very helpful in accommodating us, and they offered us the system to hook on to. What during our discussions with them, we realized we tried to identify what are the key pain points for them. And some of the key pain points was, what you see here in front of you, is there's a typical load, right? But what is forecasted and what is actually happening, there's always a difference. And this is during a day, right? So how do you really manage that? If you don't manage it efficiently, you pay penalties. And same is with the demand. If the demand moves up and down, you cannot really have a very smooth generation, right, at all the time. So you need to manage the demand as well. How do you do it? You buy expensive power which is readily available at that point of time, right? Which means, you're paying more money. This would mean the consumer will pay more money, because it's all consolidated tariff, right? So that is one pain point that we identified. The other point was the frequency. Yes, because of these variations, the frequency also gets disturbed. To manage the frequency, again, either you manage the demand, which is like, you cut off load, but what you cannot do is you bring on load, right? So storage helps battery-based energy storage helps to specifically target these issues. And the other two challenges that also TPDDL highlighted was that they are going to promote rooftop solars. The moment you put on all of that on their system, right, there will be disturbances in the system. How do you tackle that? And lastly, they are really constrained in terms of the space that they have. So as AES and Tata, we work together, and it was very well identified that you don't need different solutions to do all this. You just need one solution, which is a battery-based energy storage project. And that is where we are deployed this project. And the whole idea of this project is to bridge all these gaps and provide value. And value, as rightly said, is not just cost. Value means what is that you're saving, what is that your consumer is getting, what are the benefits. Benefits can be in the form of quality power, 24/7 power. I think these are the values that we really need to account for. And it is equally important that, why I'm coming back to this point is, this project was built in a very small area, which is 420 square meters. It's a 10 megawatt project. It doesn't need too much space. But what we have done is we've just deployed it at a Tata Power substation existing facility. They had like some spare space available. So you don't need to build huge infrastructures. And so if you really look at this, right, this is where we did. It's a very small enclosure, and the timeline to implement this is also really tight. We implemented it in 10 months, right from what you see on the left, the ground, which is we dug up the ground, to putting up the building, putting in the racks and the batteries, and then the project was inaugurated last month. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya. That was excellent. I mean, that was a great case for why battery energy storage system is very relevant to the Indian context in terms of balancing supply and demand. There are a lot of other values as well: PV penetration, absorption, etc. Some of the markets in future potentially, where in India innovates the markets, and that market innovation and smartness can happen.